Have you ever woken up at 3 a.m. while the room is still dark and the world around you seems fast asleep? No sounds, no nightmares, just you, lying there in the stillness, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself, what's going on with me? The truth is, many older adults experience this exact moment, a sudden awakening, with no clear reason, and often around the same time every night. Waking up at 3 a.m. might actually be your body and mind trying to send you a message. A gentle reminder that something inside is shifting, something that deserves your attention. In this video, we're diving into 5 common but often overlooked reasons why you may be waking up at this exact hour. From hormonal changes and shifts in your internal clock, to health factors, emotional undercurrents, and even your daily habits, each one tells a unique story about the journey your body is on. And once you begin to understand what's happening, not only will you sleep better, but you'll also feel more at peace with what your body is trying to say. So if you've ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., wondering why now, this video is for you. Let's get started. Reason number 1, decreased melatonin production. One of the clearest reasons why older adults tend to wake up in the middle of the night, often around 3 a.m., is the natural decline in melatonin production that comes with age. Melatonin is the hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle, often referred to as the body's internal clock, plays a key role in helping you fall asleep and stay asleep. When you're younger, your body produces a steady, robust amount of melatonin each night, which allows for long, uninterrupted periods of deep rest. But over time, that production begins to taper off, and that shift can have a real impact on your sleep quality. You might still fall asleep easily at night, especially after a full day or a relaxing evening, but come early morning, whether it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 4 a.m., your natural melatonin levels may dip too low to keep you in that restful state. You may find yourself awake not because of a loud noise or a vivid dream, but simply because your brain is drifting back toward alertness without enough melatonin to hold you in sleep. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, and it definitely doesn't mean your body is broken. It just means your internal chemistry is shifting with age. What's more, your sleep environment can make this even worse. Even tiny amounts of light like streetlights outside your window, a blinking bedside clock, or hallway light slipping under the door can suppress melatonin even further. As you get older, your body becomes more sensitive to environmental cues, making those 3 a.m. wake-ups more noticeable and more frustrating. Take Harold, for example. He's 72 now and always considered himself a good sleeper. But recently, he started waking up around 3:15 a.m. most nights. He wasn't anxious or upset, just fully awake, like his body thought it was time to start the day. Once Harold learned this wasn't his fault, but a normal part of aging linked to melatonin, he stopped blaming himself and started tweaking his routine. Now, he keeps his bedroom darker, avoids screens for at least an hour before bed, and takes short evening walks to reinforce his natural circadian rhythm. These small changes help signal to his body that it's still nighttime. And while he still wakes up early sometimes, he's learned to work with his body, not against it. That understanding can be a game changer. When you realize that early waking isn't necessarily your fault, but a natural chemical shift, you can take steps to support your sleep instead of resenting your body. That's the power of awareness. It turns frustration into compassion, and it helps you make wiser choices about how you care for yourself through the night. Reason number 2, changing sleep cycles and deep sleep patterns. Another quiet but very common reason older adults find themselves awake at 3 a.m. is because their body's natural sleep rhythm has shifted with age. When we're younger, our internal clock tends to sync with the patterns of daylight. We stay up later and wake up later. But as we grow older, the body gradually switches to a new schedule. You might start feeling sleepy much earlier in the evening, sometimes as early as 8:30 or 9 p.m., and by 3 a.m., your body has already completed what it considers a full night's rest, based on that new rhythm. Many people don't realize this is happening, and instead start to worry, why do I keep waking up in the middle of the night? The truth is, your biological clock isn't broken, it's just running a little earlier than it used to. Think of it like an old wristwatch that's still ticking, just slightly ahead of schedule, waking you up at the same early hour every night. Take Charles, for example. He's retired now, living a quiet life. He eats dinner around 5:30 p.m., relaxes with a movie, and is usually asleep by 9 o'clock. By 3 a.m., he often finds himself wide awake, mind alert and clear. At first, he worried something was wrong, maybe he had a sleep disorder. But once he understood that this was a natural part of aging, he stopped blaming himself. Instead of resisting his body's new rhythm, Charles made a few small adjustments. He started reading longer in the evening, taking short walks after dinner, and occasionally calling his daughter to chat before bed. These simple activities helped him stay engaged later into the evening and gently pushed back his sleep time. The result? Charles wakes up less often at 3 a.m. And when he does, he no longer feels lost or confused. He's more in tune with his new rhythm and more at peace with it. In reality, a lot of older adults are going through the same change without realizing it. And because they don't have a name for it, they suffer in silence, thinking they're doing something wrong. But once you realize this is just a subtle shift in your body's timing, you can begin to rebuild your evening routine in a kinder, gentler, and more supportive way. So if you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m. and it feels like your night of sleep is already done, remember, that's not a problem. It's a signal. And once you understand that signal, you'll know how to live with it, not fight against it. Reason number 3, physical discomfort and health-related disruptions. Another common reason older adults find themselves waking up around 3 a.m. is due to physical discomfort or underlying health issues that tend to show up during the quietest hours of the night. As we age, we're more likely to face chronic conditions or subtle health challenges, and many of these have a way of disturbing sleep without any dramatic warning signs. They show up quietly like joint pain, a full bladder, or sudden back aches, and that alone can be enough to pull you out of deep rest in the middle of the night. For example, conditions like arthritis can make lying in the same position for hours uncomfortable. You might not notice the discomfort when you first fall asleep, but a few hours later, those aches can build up just enough to wake you. For others, nighttime acid reflux can disrupt sleep, especially if dinner was too late or you reclined too soon after eating. Even things that seem small like dry mouth, muscle cramps, or a slight change in room temperature can trigger early morning wake-ups when your body's defenses are more sensitive and less forgiving than they used to be. One of the most common reasons older men wake at 3 a.m. is the urge to urinate. As we age, the bladder becomes less elastic, and the need to go can hit more quickly and more frequently. You might not notice it during the day when distractions keep your mind busy, but at 3 a.m., in a dark, quiet room, that sensation becomes impossible to ignore. And once you get up and move around, even just to use the bathroom, your body can shift out of deep rest into a lighter, more alert state, making it harder to fall back asleep. Then there's the issue of medications. Many older adults take prescriptions to manage blood pressure, heart health, or chronic pain. And these medications often come with side effects like increased urination, temperature sensitivity, or heightened awareness of noise or light, all of which can quietly chip away at your sleep quality. You might not even realize there's a connection between your meds and your sleep pattern until someone points it out, or you start tracking your habits more closely. Take Ella Laner, for example, a 76-year-old woman who's always been a light sleeper. Over the past year, she began waking up more frequently around 3:30 a.m. For months, she assumed it was just part of aging. But after talking with her doctor, she discovered that one of her medications was affecting her hydration levels and increasing nighttime urination. With her doctor's help, she adjusted the timing of her medication, made a few lifestyle tweaks, and now she wakes up less often and falls back asleep more easily when she does. What's important to remember here is that waking up physically doesn't mean your body is failing. In fact, it's the opposite. It means your body is still doing its job. It's reacting, alerting, adjusting. These signals can guide you toward better care, smarter choices, and a deeper trust in your body's awareness. Waking at 3 a.m. might feel inconvenient, but it can also be a quiet nudge to reevaluate, fine-tune, and make small changes that lead to better health and deeper rest. Reason number 4, lifestyle habits that quietly shift your sleep rhythm. A powerful but often overlooked reason many older adults wake up at 3 a.m. has less to do with illness or stress, and more to do with the quiet routines of daily life. It's not that something's wrong. It's just that the way you're living each day might be silently reprogramming your internal clock. After retirement, life tends to slow down. No more early meetings, no more rushing the kids or juggling work. And with that, small changes start to take root. You eat dinner earlier, move around less, and wind down much sooner. At first glance, it all feels normal. But over time, your body starts to pick up on those cues. It begins to think, night must be coming earlier. In response, it starts producing melatonin sooner, making you feel sleepy by 8:30 or 9 p.m. And when you go to bed earlier, it's no surprise that by 3 a.m., your body feels rested and ready to wake up. It's not necessarily insomnia. You might just be going to sleep earlier than you realize. But it doesn't stop there. Even your meal times can affect deep sleep. Eating dinner too early, especially without a small evening snack, can lead to a blood sugar drop in the middle of the night that wakes you up without you knowing why. And that afternoon coffee you thought was harmless? With a slower metabolism in older age, that caffeine could still be lingering in your system when you're trying to fall asleep. Take Walter, 74. After retiring, he'd eat dinner at 5 p.m., sink into his recliner to watch the news, and often doze off right there. By 9 p.m., he'd be in bed, and by 3 a.m., he was wide awake, mind sharp and alert. At first, it puzzled him. Why am I waking up so early? But when he looked more closely at his routine, the clues became clear. Walter made a few simple changes. He started taking short walks in the late afternoon, read under brighter lights in the evening, and made a point to stay awake after dinner. These small adjustments pushed his bedtime later, and over time, his body adjusted with him. The truth is, our bodies love rhythm. They rely on cues to know when it's time to rest and when it's time to be alert. When those signals get mixed because of quiet days, early dinners, or shortened routines, the body can misread the timing and shift your sleep cycle earlier. The good news? You can take back control. By making a few small tweaks to your daily habits, you can help your body settle into a healthier sleep-wake cycle and find yourself waking closer to sunrise, instead of in the middle of the night. But not all 3 a.m. wake-ups are physical. Sometimes the reason isn't in your body. It's in your heart. When the world is quiet and the noise has faded, no phones, no TV, no conversations, it's often in that stillness that your mind starts to speak. Old thoughts drift in, not always painful, not always clear, but there's a weight, a still ache you can feel in your chest. It might be an old memory, person you've lost, a thought you've never said out loud. Not loud sorrow, but a quiet restlessness, a kind of emotional undercurrent that slips past your guard in the silence of night. It's something many people who've lived full, rich lives know well. You carry stories, joys never fully told, wounds never fully healed, and sometimes 3 a.m. is when they knock on the door. Think of Gloria, 80, a widow of several years. During the day, she's busy watering her plants, calling her grandkids, watching her favorite shows. But at night, especially during those early morning hours, she wakes not from pain or fear, but because her mind returns to thoughts of her late husband. Moments she thought were buried in memory become vivid again. Instead of fighting those emotions, Gloria has learned to welcome them. She keeps a small journal by her bed, and when she wakes, she writes a few lines of memory, a thank you, or just a quiet thought. She listens to soft music before sleep, or writes a card to an old friend. These small gestures don't erase the longing, but they soften it. They create space for peace to return, and with it, sleep. So if you wake up in the middle of the night with no clear reason, feeling something you can't quite name, it may not be a sleep disorder. It might just be your heart asking to be heard. Not every wake-up is a problem. Sometimes, it's a doorway opening just wide enough to bring you home to yourself. And when you walk through that door gently with acceptance, with connection, you may find that not only does sleep return more easily, but so does a deeper sense of ease, even in the quietest hours before dawn. Reason number 5, emotional and mental restlessness. Sometimes, waking up at 3 a.m. has less to do with your body and more to do with your mind. As we grow older, the emotions we once tucked away beneath the busyness of everyday life can begin to resurface in the quiet of the night. These early morning hours, when the world is silent and distractions are few, often become a time when unspoken worries, lingering regrets, or quiet longings start to stir. You may find yourself lying awake not from pain or noise, but because your mind is gently sorting through old memories, unresolved thoughts, or subtle worries you didn't even know were still lingering. This kind of restlessness isn't like the anxiety many of us felt when we were younger. It's quieter, more reflective. It can feel like a soft hum in the background, a sense that something's just a little off, even if you can't name it. When we're not actively busy, our minds often drift to the past, to old relationships, choices we made, losses we've endured, or words we never said. And because we're no longer rushing from one responsibility to the next, there's space for those thoughts to echo a bit louder. It's also important to recognize that loneliness may play a role here. For many older adults, social circles shrink over time. Children move away. Friends get busy. Routines change. The days may be filled with light and activity, but nighttime brings stillness. And with it, an awareness of emotional distance. This kind of loneliness doesn't always feel heavy. Sometimes, it simply shows up as a quiet yearning, a desire for connection, or a soft ache to talk to someone when the house is silent. Think about someone like Gloria, 80 years old and widowed. During the day, she stays busy tending to her garden, calling her grandchildren, watching her favorite shows. But around 3 a.m., she often finds herself awake, her mind returning to moments she shared with her late husband or to worries she keeps tucked away during daylight hours. At first, Gloria thought something was wrong with her sleep, but over time, she came to understand she wasn't waking because of her sleep. She was waking because her heart wanted to be heard. To nurture herself, Gloria began keeping a small journal by her bed. When she woke up, she'd jot down whatever came to mind. Nothing fancy, just a few honest thoughts. She also created a peaceful nighttime ritual, listening to soft music or writing a short note to an old friend. These small acts of reflection and connection helped ease her emotions, soothe her mind, and invite sleep back more gently. The truth is, the human heart doesn't run on a strict schedule. It remembers what it remembers. It asks the questions it needs to ask. And sometimes it does that at 3 a.m. when everything else is quiet. But that's not a flaw. It's a sign of depth. If you wake up and find yourself reflecting, it might mean there's wisdom inside you that's ready to be acknowledged. You've lived through joy and sorrow, and those experiences shape not just your memory, but your very sense of self. Rather than treating these moments as something broken to fix, try approaching them with curiosity and kindness. As we wrap up this video, take a quiet moment to reflect on what you've just heard. Which part resonated most with you? Was it the shift in your body's internal clock? The subtle health changes? Or maybe something deeper, an emotional rhythm that only reveals itself when the world is still? Each of the 5 reasons offers a unique lens to understand your early wake-ups, and none of them suggests something is wrong. In fact, they show just how deeply your body and mind are still working, still responding, still adapting as you move through this season of life. There is quiet power in understanding what your body is trying to say, especially in those gentle hours before sunrise. Instead of seeing your 3 a.m. awakenings as annoyances, you might begin to see them as messages. Gentle signals reminding you to listen a little more closely to your needs, your patterns, and your heart. You're not alone in this, and you're certainly not the only one seeking answers. But with awareness comes power, and with power comes freedom. Freedom to make small, meaningful changes that support better rest, greater comfort, and a stronger connection to your own rhythm. If you recognized yourself in any of these reasons today, know this: you're not just aging, you're evolving. And with that evolution comes a chance to rest more intentionally, care more gently, and greet each new morning with just a little more understanding and peace. Thank you for being with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your thoughts truly matter to us, so don't hesitate to share. Reading your comments gives us encouragement and inspiration. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content that informs and inspires. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.